So, moving on into the main topic of the show today, man. I got my man BJ Williams, man. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing all right, man.
How you feeling, man? That's good. First and foremost, man, thank you for actually being here. But even more so, man, thank you for the actual movement and the Instagram page and everything that you're doing with that, right?
Appreciate it.
For those individuals who don't know, this individual is the founder of an Instagram page called Can I Be Vulnerable? Right? That page is geared towards assisting black males, helping them understand that it's actually okay to be vulnerable, right? It's actually okay to be vulnerable. And I believe I put up a post sometime this week, and it said,
it's okay for grown men to be vulnerable, something like that.
It was like, you have to be. It takes a strong man to be vulnerable.
That's what it said.
It takes a strong man to be vulnerable because a lot of men, what I always like to say is this, right? We're not really taught how to love. We're also taught how to survive, and we equate vulnerable with being weak, and we do not have the opportunity, especially within the communities that we grew up in. We don't have the time or the space to really be weak. Right, so anything that comes to any type of vulnerability, we're trying to isolate that and block that out of our head and not trying to deal with it at all. So everything that you're doing with that, everything that you're going to continue doing with that, even though it's just the beginning, I know it's going to shoot off into some ridiculous stuff, man. First and foremost, before we even dive into what we're going to talk about today, man, good looking.
Appreciate it, man. Right on.
Good looking. How and why did you feel like you needed to start up that page?
It started with. So I've been going to therapy off and on for about 4 or 5 years now.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to tell what led me to go to therapy.
Yeah.
And a good friend of mine, BT, who actually does all the editing for the videos, he was actually the one filming and editing.
Oh, okay.
Just edits them. We were trying to come up with something to talk about mental health and all that kind of stuff. So we've been going around for a while about like, how about we write this or just shoot that. One day I was actually on vacation, man, in Barbados, and just sitting on the beach, and it just hit me. Boom! Can I be vulnerable? Just came to me. I was drinking too, so could add to it.
We're in our most vulnerable states at that point.
I was on the beach with something nice in my hand and just looking at something nice, and I was like, "Yo, can I be vulnerable?" Hit me. So I got home, and that was it. I hit BT up like, "Yo, I got it." Mm-hmm. Can I be vulnerable? He came right to the crib. We shot it in my backyard.
Did you have any type of prep work for that?
No,
because
I didn't want any.
Good.
I wanted to come in. You come in. You just put the camera on.
Okay.
And an ex-girlfriend of mine, she actually wrote 10 questions for me to answer.
Okay.
And so he read the questions to me. And another thing, my son actually watched me do the whole thing. So I made my son watch it. He was there. He was because every vacation my son comes and stays with me. And so I was like, yo, kid, you got to come and watch dad do this. And so not only was I in front of the camera, my son watched me do it. And so we did the questions, boom, and I kind of just went. I just started talking about what led me to therapy, which was really just telling some certain events that happened to where I finally discovered, like, all right, nigga, you need some help.
Yeah.
And that's how I was born. And then that was going to be it. Like, I was like, you know what? I did mine. I'm cool. I set it out for the world, and I put it on all my social medias, and the response to it was tremendous. Mm-hmm. The conversations that were happening in my comments were, it was an abundance of things, man. They were all great. And they were like, oh, B, you should keep this going. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I did what I wanted to do. Got that off my chest.
Yeah.
Y'all do what y'all want to do, man. Hopefully my video and my story inspires you to go get your own help. Yeah. And it was like, nah, dude, you got to keep doing this. And funny, a couple of my boys I went to college with and some guys that I knew were like, B, I want to do one too. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, well, cool. We can do one. But it wasn't, I didn't fully dive into it until this dude pulled me to the side like, B, somebody will pay you for this. And I was like, word? Oh. Mm-hmm. Well, shit, since you think somebody might want to, throw a little cash to me, let's do it.
But even more so than that, like it's probably dudes that you didn't expect to come forth and say certain things to you.
Not at all. That's the thing. Like, and the guys that came to me were my friends. Like, I know them. So it ain't like we don't. Because when I was going to therapy, I was all in a group chat like, man, therapy the best shit on the planet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't like I was going to therapy and not saying that. I dove right into the group chats like, hey, what y'all niggas doing? Y'all need to go to therapy, bro. It's the best shit on the planet. What's up?
Yeah.
And oddly enough, some of the guys had already gone because a lot of my friends that I hang with are athletes. Mm-hmm. A handful of them played professionally: football, basketball, track, some other sports. And just the guys that I grew up in my circle have always been athletes. Yeah. And so some of them had already been going. Anyway, so, and then a couple of guys that hadn't gone, I'm like, yo, y'all need to go. Y'all we in the chat talking about all these bullshit, these problems we got, and
we need to.
You better go talk to somebody professional.
Yeah.
So I was always like, with my fellas, like, yo, let's do it. Mm-hmm. But filming it and putting it out to the world is entirely different. Yeah. What goes on in the group chat stays
in the group chat.
But
once you put it out there,
once you put it out there, it's for everybody, right? So that was something different. So was I expecting them to do that? No, that was a shock. But to say that some of the guys that approached me were like shocking, no, because I talked to all my boys about therapy. Yeah. I was going to couples therapy before I was in a relationship before. And we were going to couples therapy. That's my first introduction to it.
Oh, okay.
And so from that is when I realized I myself need therapy before I can even think about trying to make this relationship work. Yeah. And so couples therapy was where I really was like, dude, y'all talking about your wife out there tripping. You go to therapy, brother.
Yeah.
Dude, you talking to us? I can't help you because I'm biased. You my boy. I'm gonna ride with you for sure. And I love your wife. That's sis, but.
Was some of your boys kind of reluctant about the therapy?
No, nobody was like, nah, I don't believe in it. They were all like, man, yep. I think if they haven't been, they were like, I'm thinking about it. Or, you know what? Nigga, I'm going to go. Or, you know what? Yeah. Let me get it. Wasn't like, no, I ain't going. No, I don't believe in it.
Because I don't believe guys like keeping their shit in the box, right? I believe a lot of guys actually want someone to talk to. It's just more so they want someone to talk to within a safe space.
Exactly.
Right? So it takes my boy or my homegirl or whatever to throw it out there to us. And
back to piggyback onto that, with therapy itself, like it's never even really came up in our community.
Nah.
If you say therapy, it's
white people
like,
shit.
Yeah, it's white people shit or nigga, I ain't crazy.
Exactly.
Like, nah. And so once somebody finally says like, nah, nigga, therapy is dope as a motherfucker, bro. Go see that. Mm-hmm. Then damn, you know what? Yeah. Because you only hear it in the context of like either white people go to therapy or you crazy. And it's like, nigga, I ain't crazy. Well, I am, but not like that.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not 5150. I'm not, I'm not straitjacket crazy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But once somebody puts it to you like, nigga, that shit's dope. Go.
Yeah.
Now it is. Yeah, that shit is dope.
But because like I said, a lot of guys I believe want to go to therapy, but we always have, especially men, we never really give ourselves the opportunity because, like you said, we think it's some white people shit. We think that's only the crazy part of it. We don't really understand. Like, hey, okay, I got stuff in my life. Maybe I can chop it up with
and
this
nobody's giving us permission in our communities as well. I say it all the time. Nobody's giving us permission to say like, yo, something is wrong and I can't do this on my own. I need help. Nobody's giving us permission to do that. We grew up in I know for me and most of my friends grew up in an era of like, don't be a bitch. Man up. What the fuck does man up mean? Like the niggas say man up, like I hear what you're saying but what the fuck does that mean? A nigga say man up like man, what does it mean? What you mean man up? Like explain. And nobody ever sat there and asked like, all right, I'm a man up, but how? Like,
to try to actually define that.
Nobody's even said that. All we hear is man up, and it's like I ain't gonna be no bitch.
That's the only thing that I can think of.
Only response we ever
don't be a bitch. Because whenever I come across a situation, the one thing that I have to tell myself to get out of it, Willis, you ain't no bitch. We have to, right? But it kind of goes back into what I said earlier as far as we were taught to survive. We was not really taught how to love. So when it comes to things that were going on, we don't really know how to process it. At all. We don't know how to process it. So our only thing is, man up. Because our fathers, kind of, or the thing, because even if you're a guy who didn't have a father, the things that we see within the neighborhood, men are these individuals who don't cry. Men are these individuals who are not going to be punked out. Men are these individuals who are just going to fight. Men are these individuals who, when things come to us, when problems come, we just, we
meet it with conflict.
Put it in our pocket, go with our chin and our chest out and keep it moving. Any type of thing outside of that, we look at that as a bitch move. Mm-hmm. We look at that as a bitch move. But when it comes to vulnerability, right, we got to understand that putting stuff in your pocket is the easiest thing in the world because we was taught how to do that.
There's nothing manly about putting that shit in your pocket and letting it rest. There's nothing strong about that.
Nothing.
You are running from. If we're taught to stand up to our fears and just stand up to people or stand up to situations, but yet we pocket some shit that goes wrong internally, mentally or emotionally, even spiritually. That's not the man up that they spit at us. So you can't tell us to man up for certain things and not man up for everything else. But and so, like, which one is it?
Because it's just this whole concept of masculine and feminine thing, right? We look at vulnerability as a feminine characteristic or a feminine trait. So we're not trying to be on that side. I need to make sure I'm masculine. I'm the toughest dude in the room.
Man's man.
But what I've realized through my work and through certain people that I've met, women love those men who are able to be vulnerable.
So byproduct of this whole can I be vulnerable thing is my DMs. And the funny thing is, like, my boy, a couple weeks later after I dropped my video, my boy was like, yo, nigga to nigga, what's your DMs been like? And it didn't even dawn on me. And I was like, fuck you talking? He's like, bro, so who's been in your DMs? And I was like, oh shit. And it wasn't like women were just throwing news in my shit, you know what I mean? But there were a number of women in my DMs with affirmations, and you know, women don't necessarily dive into DMs like men do, so I wasn't expecting to see like some ass shots.
But when a woman sees a man who's able to be tough, but get in touch with their vulnerable side, not afraid to really touch that and be a little bit sensitive and a little bit, that's going to be very attracting to certain women.
Exactly. So now that I post up the videos of the guys that I've done, it's like, is he single? I'm like, yo, lady, this is not. I didn't make this.
Yeah.
In I'm not mad at him about it. It's cool. I think it's funny.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But like, it's great to see how they respond to it. And I tell my boys, like, yo, if you understand how women respond to you opening up, it makes it so much easier to communicate and actually get the woman you do want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And actually be able to communicate with her or even approach her or have her approach you. You know what I mean? And so, you know, every now and then, actually a lot.
Because a lot of us men, we have to be we need to get some type of reward. We need to be incentivized by something, right? So pitching it in a way of, okay, being vulnerable may allow women to actually be attracted to you more, even though for some people who may be listening, like, oh, you don't want to go at that route, but it's a byproduct of it.
It's a byproduct. I didn't say
that's what you're doing. That's what you do. You don't purposely get into it,
but it's a byproduct.
Exactly. Like, one of the things, you got to put the candy in the medicine, right? I mean, you got to put the medicine in the candy, right? When I went out to college and I came back, one of the things that really, you know, one of the things that really wanted my boys to really go to college, I used to tell them, like, yo, the ratio at Clark Atlanta is 21 women to every guy.
Bruh.
You got to go out there for the women. And if you're going out there for the women and you see all these women, you're going to want to stay. And if you're going to stay, that means you're going to have to be in class.
You might as well get you an education.
Yo, my
dad said that to me all my school life. Like, B, school is the one place where you'll be outnumbered by women all the time.
Exactly.
All the time. As soon as you start working, son, you might not ever see a woman at your job.
Exactly.
Son, go to school. And it wasn't like I was not going to school. I was a straight A damn student.
It's not as corny as we make it seem. Right? It's a normal type of thing, right? So if we just go seek the therapy or seek the whatever it is, we're going to realize, like, hey, this shit actually works. Because a lot of us don't really understand how fucked up we may be, right? So going to go seek that therapy or being vulnerable in those sense, even though you may, hey, it's going to allow me to open up more. My relationship isn't going to be as trash. Because I'm not even going to lie, my last relationship probably folded because of my lack of being vulnerable, because my lack of being affectionate.
Oh, I've ruined damn near every single one of my relationships.
Because of that.
Because I emotionally was stunted, immature, and I'm not a confrontational person.
Yeah, me either,
so to speak. So even though we're not at battle, I'm also not really speaking a whole lot about what it is I'm going through or what it is I want or what it is I need, and take that back. Not even take it back. Even hearing her, what do you want? What do you need? How do you need to be loved? It wasn't registering for me. And I was also, you know what I mean? So because it wasn't registering, I'm not able to put that out.
And you don't even know how to answer that question.
I don't know how to, you know what I mean? And another thing that was huge for me is that emotionally, I would shut you out.
Oh, yeah.
So I would let you in. I'll give you a piece of me. I'll let you see like what all of VJ can be. And then you touch that like, I like that. Let me have it. And I'm like, nah, lady, get back. I will shut you out.
Man, that sounds exactly, that's exactly how I used to function, right? I used to put all of my stuff on the table. All of my nonsense on the table. So I'm like, okay, this is all my bullshit, the good and the bad. Now you have the choice to deal with me or not.
Me or not.
I don't have to change because you make that decision to deal with me, right? So I don't have to work at being vulnerable. I don't have to work at being affectionate or any of this stuff. Right? So being able to be in touch. And it's a learned behavior.
It is.
It's a learned behavior. We learn how to do that based upon the things that we get from the past. And
here it is on the table, and then I take that shit right off of it. And it would manifest itself in ways that I didn't even realize.
We never do.
And when she would, or when the women I was in relationship with would bring it up to me, I'm like, you tripping. What you mean? Like, because to me, I'm like, I'm all right. Like, there's nothing wrong with me. But,
exactly.
You know, women feel that kind of thing. They have this innate ability to feel that kind of vibe, that energy when you are shut off to them. You know, we're stupid as enough.
And it could be that vulnerability thing, right? Because it's a wall, it's a block. We're purposely not trying to do that. So we're in our head, we literally figuring out 4-5 different ways to get out of this conversation. We already planned our exit route before this argument even began.
Exactly.
Like, we already know what we're about to do to get up out of here.
Yeah, so I've ruined a few relationships.
Exactly. And we don't understand how that trickles down into the stuff within our life. We don't understand how that trickles down into the stuff into our life, which is why it's like, and it's crazy that you actually said you went to therapy before this and you were shooting it to your boys like, yo, this is dope, this is cool. What was one of the reasons as to why you went to therapy?
Well, my catalyst was my brother had committed suicide. Memorial Day of 2014, and that was when. And what made that significant is because I was on the phone with him for like, between him, my family, the police, about 2 hours of conversation. Everybody came to me and said, solve this problem. And I didn't. And I mean, that kind of just took it just took me
elsewhere.
I'm pulling both ways. Yeah. Like, it took me elsewhere, and on top of that, I was in the middle of couples therapy.
Okay.
When this all happened, you know what I mean? So trying to get a relationship right, and then my brother committed suicide, and then that just brought up a whole bunch of shit. Like, my mother died when I was 16. She just had a stroke one day. You know what I mean? And I never dealt with that crazy. Emotionally. I've had football and track. Most of the things I'm always going to reference athletics because that's been me my whole life. And those are the friends that I hang with. Most of my friends are athletes. That's just what I know. So once she died, like, I came to LA, as a matter of fact. I came to LA for a minute, like a little under a month. I stayed with her family. You know, my mom's side of the family came from Belize. They've been in LA, bingo. So I came, stayed with the fam, bam, you know what I mean? They lost an aunt, a cousin, a daughter, a sister. So I came and spent time with family. I didn't gave up sports. And finally came back right before camp. And I'm off to the side, just chilling. And one day my coach was like, get your ass up and go join your team. I waved his ass up. Get the fuck out of here, dude. And then my boys was like, nigga, get your ass up.
Yeah.
And I did. And it was in that moment when my boys was like, man, get your ass up. And it wasn't even like, it was like, get your ass up, nigga. Like,
was it like a get your ass up, get out of your feelings type of thing? Or was it like, let's go, I got your back, get your ass up? Okay.
Get your ass out your fucking feelings, man, and we got you. Like, get out your feelings, we got you. You know what I mean? And I did. And I gave everything that I had into sports, and it led me down a successful path. I got college paid for. I had an opportunity to go pro. It led me into entertainment. So, I gave everything I had to that. But I didn't deal with it.
You didn't touch it.
But I had an outlet. I was able to go on the field and hit somebody. I was able to get on the track and just run it off. I was able to work out hours on end. But that's just a physical, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily...
Yeah.
It's just an outlet.
You saying that makes me think about what was my outlet. It's crazy that you said your mother passed when she was 16 due to a stroke. That's the exact same thing where my mother died, and that was the exact same age. Like, I was 16, my mother died, and she had a stroke, right? I literally watched, in my eyes, I felt like I watched her die because I watched her have the stroke. And then when she had the stroke, it took the ambulance probably about 5 to 10 minutes to get there. So I'm literally watching, I feel like I'm watching her life kind of seep out of her mouth because her tongue is falling, eyes rolling in the back of her head. It's like she's literally dying, right? So when that happened, it was just like I just shut all the way down. I didn't even cry at the funeral. I didn't do anything. All right, I shut all the way down. I didn't cry at the funeral. I didn't even go see her in the hospital because she was on brain dead. Yeah, she was brain dead for like a good 2 months before she passed.
She died immediately. My mother died. I was on the way there. She had made dinner, like of course, I'll be on my way, man. Feel me? Me and the fellas was over there, on our way. Mm-hmm. The ambulance passed us. But I don't know.
Yeah, you think it's just going somewhere.
I didn't have a cell phone, my boy did. So, boom, we get to her house, and my dad is there, her boyfriend is there, like, yo, your mom had a stroke. Now, my mom health was slowly deteriorating anyway. Mm-hmm. So she had been in and out the hospital. So I just figured it was one of those routine. She never had a stroke, as far as my knowledge goes. Mm-hmm. I'm like, mom's being in the hospital. She'd be out.
But that's the same. That's the same exact thing. Because my mom, she's on dialysis, kidney failure. She's in her 60s, about to turn 70s, and she was frequent in the hospital. Anytime she'd be in the hospital, in there for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month at the max. All right, bet she'll be back. But it's like it got to the point in time where you had to realize she ain't coming back.
Yeah, no. My mom was 37. She never spent more than 2 days in the hospital. High blood pressure, though. She was an alcoholic, and that was something that I didn't deal with either. Mm-hmm. Living with an alcoholic, and it'd be wild shit coming home, and she'd be hanging out the car, faded, or she done pissed on the floor or in the bed, or having to pick that. So she was. That was what was killing her.
You feel like that affects you today?
Hell yeah.
How so?
Of course. Like I just told you before we even started. Like I don't drink the first 3 to 4 months out the year. And, alcoholism or excuse me, not alcoholism, but addiction can be passed down. It can be hereditary. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it can pass down. And at one point, I was self-medicating with alcohol. You know what I mean? Like, I remember the day I actually decided to call some therapist up. I came home, I bagged all the liquor up, and we had mini bar at the crib. I bagged all that shit up, waited for my girl to come home, and I was like, yo, get this shit out of my apartment.
Oh, you didn't just drink it all and then get it?
I bagged that shit up. A couple bottles of that yak. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She had her stuff. I bagged all that shit up.
Have you ever been in a situation where you used alcohol as a way to kind of, heal?
Yeah, I'm self-medicating, and this is self-diagnosed because I would come home from work and, have me a little... And I was functioning. I've had one hangover. That's only because I forgot to eat that day. Mm-hmm. But I've never had a hangover. It's never kept me from doing any damn thing. Yeah. I've always showed up and performed on time. Mm-hmm. But, and I also didn't want to be in therapy and then go home and drink. It just felt productive to me. Like I said, I bagged that shit up, and as soon as she walked in, she's like, hey, I was like, hey, take this shit out of my apartment. I don't want to see this. And she just looked at it, grabbed it, turned right back around, threw it in the car. I don't know what she did with it.
Man,
I think she took it to a girlfriend's house. So they, they did what they did.
Man, just hearing you speak though makes me think about all of the shit that I didn't do, right? Because it's like, once my mom died, I completely emotionally locked myself up from everything. Didn't cry from that situation. I went homeless a month later, 2 months later, sleeping house to house, slept on the freeways. I was literally an inch away from attempting suicide, jumping off a platform in front of a train, and I've never sought therapy for that. Even still to this day, as a therapist, as someone who consistently tells someone go to therapy, I've never sought therapy for my situations, right? And I always ask myself, Willis, why? What are you running away from? And that's always a hard question to really ask. Is more so, to answer is more so a therapist has to, get you to that path. But as I sit there and kind of, just dive into myself and look into myself a whole lot more, it's just to be quite honest, I'm scared of what's going to come out.
Most of us are
scared of what's going to come out. Cause I've even still to this day, I've never cried about the situation. A lot of my family members still don't know that I, was thinking about suicide and almost attempted suicide. Right? If they do find out, it's probably going to be through here. right? And then they may start to ask these questions or whatever, right? But I'm afraid of what may come out. I'm afraid of what my people's going to think. I'm afraid of all of these things, right? And it takes me back to a place to Willis. Are you kind of being a hypocrite? You know, when you're telling these folks certain things, and then also, where is your level of personal strength at?
Right.
When you know the benefits of therapy, but you yourself aren't willing to go to therapy because you are afraid of what's going to come out.
It's a scary thing, man. I excuse me. I've talked about how hard it is. I say it's dope, and it is. It's amazing, but that shit's fucking difficult.
Oh yeah.
It's you go to therapy and it's a stranger, and granted, they can't tell your business unless you say, I plan on hurting myself or somebody. Then by law, they have to.
They got to do what they got to do.
But outside of that, like, or unless you say, like, I've been molesting kids or some shit, then they got to call the cops on you again, you know. But other than that, like, they can't, client privilege. They can't tell anybody anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you get past that, like, all right, they can't tell my business part of it, you start to relax a little bit more. But then the hard part is looking at yourself, looking internally and saying, you know, just talking about things, going there emotionally, bringing up some shit where you fucked up at.
Oh, that's the worst.
And for me, I was like, you know what? I've gone about a lot of shit wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what has gotten me. Let me try something else. See where that gets me.
We ain't trying to hear our fuck ups.
Now, but you know what, though? I've always been a person, like, I like to be wrong about things. How else am I going to learn if I'm always right? You know what I mean? Like, let me fail. Because there's great lessons in failure. But when it comes to yourself, I'm stubborn as shit. So I'm like, yo.
Man, dog, I feel like you talk like I'm talking to myself here.
But I also was like, I keep getting the same results. Yeah. Because I'm doing the same shit.
Yeah.
And that's actually the what is that? The definition of insanity.
Exactly.
Doing the same thing, hoping to get different results.
But we don't know that we're doing the same thing, right?
You know
we kind of, like I said, we don't know that we're doing the same thing, and then also actually not being able to touch what we. All right, so I just want to make sure I say this the right way, because it might rub people wrong. But for me in particular, right, it's like exactly what you said. I like to be right. I like to not really like to be right, but because I'm always right, I like when people, challenge me. I love it. Right? I love it when people challenge me. But me and myself is, like you said, it's that stubborn thing for me, right? Because I think that I have everything under control. Because I'm not aware of how things from the past have affected me. I think I'm not being affected right now. So the shit that happened yesterday don't really matter. And I know for me, that's the reason why it's so hard to go to therapy. Also, not only because I'm scared of what's coming out, but because I think I know it all, right? I'm stubborn. But pride and that ego, and a lot of us as men think we know it all. And you hit it right on the nail when you said it forces us to look at our personal fuck ups, right? A lot of the reason why I was homeless was my fault.
Yeah,
stealing shit.
My shit was self-inflicted.
Stealing shit
to this day.
Selling drugs, like doing all this reckless shit, right? I remember a situation in which, like, I literally almost went to jail, like, forever, because I was selling drugs in a whole nother state that I shouldn't be handling business in.
Right.
Why? Because I'm too stubborn to ask for help, so I'm just going to try to take things on my way. Because at that point within my life, we always kind of have to go back and try to. And that's the one thing therapy does do. It allows you to go back to see where it kind of started. Right? Because what happens is we shut that incident down. Like when my mother passed, I shut that down. I never looked back.
You locked that one away.
I locked it away. And then when I continued to move forward, all of the shit that began to happen afterwards was because it was just like I literally was done from that. Women, homeboys, situation in school, how angry I can be, how violent I can be in certain situations, just like all because it was just like no. So that causes me to ask myself, Willis, like I said, are you being a hypocrite? But also, when will you actually go?
I'm not gonna say you're being a hypocrite. Clearly, you need to go. That's the first, first clearly, steps. Yeah. Like acknowledging, like, I need some help is a huge step. Is even admitting that you got problems that you can't solve on your own. Everything else will come eventually, man. You're a therapist yourself. You know the benefits of it. So are you a hypocrite? No. Are you taking your time? Yes, but that's fine.
Taking the time. But that's I like that in a sense, and I'm always the guy to challenge. Like, taking the time, I like that, but I always have to think back to, the stuff I tell my patients, right? We can be taking the time and go when you're ready, but we gonna be waiting forever.
I didn't say go when you're ready. I said you're taking
no,
your
but
time.
that's what I tell the patients, right? No, that's what they tell me, right? They tell me I'm gonna go when I'm ready because I don't feel like I'm ready now. And if you essentially wait until you're ready, you're never really gonna understand when you're ready. Sometimes it's like I firmly believe sometimes it's very, very beneficial to just jump right into it.
Dive in. I do shit cold turkey.
Yeah,
like when the liquor,
me
January
too.
2nd every year, there's no alcohol. And they're like, beers at home. I'm like, no, just don't.
It's life, right? Sometimes you just have to dive in, and us as men, it can be scary, right? Because we don't know what's going to come out. Some guys may break down and cry. Some guys may lash out on the therapist, be like, "Fuck this," and blah blah blah.
I was letting my therapist have it.
Yeah.
Oh, she was getting all these cuss words, all of them, and they weren't directed at her. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like I was cussing her out, but she was getting all that.
What was one of the most difficult moments for you within therapy?
She was giving me homework, and some of the homework she was giving me was like, fuck, it took me, like a week or two to actually do it. Uh-huh. As opposed, you know what I mean? Like having conversation with certain people or a conversation with myself or stuff like that. That was the hardest part, was the homework. But I loved having homework though, because for me, like I gotta have something to do after the fact. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So me just going there, sitting there talking to you, and then leave, like, nah.
Your shit gets boring after a while.
It's not boring. It's just I feel like combining that with homework outside of the actual session for me, is something that I need. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To push it forward. So she would give me homework, and like I said, it would be either have a conversation or attempt to have the conversation, because even though I'm in the process of getting things healed and I'm having a conversation with people that I've hurt, doesn't necessarily mean I'm granted the opportunity to either apologize or even have that conversation, or that they're supposed to even hear me out. Mm-hmm. They can, she was like, be clear that the niggas can ignore you. Yeah, and that's their absolute right, and you can't take that to heart. You can't take that. You know what I mean? You just don't take that bad. Mm-hmm. Don't take it as a negative. It's just they're not either have moved on from it. B, they don't owe you anything. No, you've hurt these people, so deal with that. And sometimes and I like the fact that you said that, because we always kind of feel as if, I know a lot of my patients, and sometimes even with me, I feel as if things aren't right or things aren't settled until I put my hands on it. Right. Things aren't cool until I actually go touch it. Like, I'm a huge fan of getting closure. So me too.
So I have to, like, even within my last relationship, right? Mm-hmm. I was not right until I got my own type of closure. Until I put, like, this shit ain't over until I say it's over. But sometimes just like we gotta.
We don't get that.
We don't.
And it's perfectly okay.
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly but right. we don't think that it's okay, and we have to get to that point to where it's all right to just say it's cool.
I just know that they don't owe me closure. Yeah. They don't owe me a conversation. They don't owe me, they don't.
We gotta have that conversation.
I'm not granted their ear. You know what I mean? Like but that doesn't stop my process. Mm-hmm. And it shouldn't. So as long as I keep that in mind, like, hey, I'm going to attempt, and if you receive it, thank you. Mm-hmm. But if you don't, I'm still going to go through my process, and I hope that you've either moved forward positively, and have learned, and whatever else you got to go through. I hope it's not bogging you down as well, and you aren't, in a state where it's like, hate that nigga harboring on that shit. You know what I mean? Hopefully you're like, lesson learned, it wasn't whatever it was, and I can move forward in my next thing or whatever you're doing and be cool with that. I just don't ever want to speak to this nigga.
Exactly.
Which is, I'm okay with that.
So I think it's kind of ironic that, a woman had brought you to therapy.
Yeah.
I think it's ironic that a woman had brought you to therapy, solely because a lot of the time women, they know what's up with us.
They do. She knew.
Know what's up with us. They know the help we need, but we're always saying no.
She had been wanting to go to couples therapy for a while. And I was like, no. I was never like, no, we don't need to go. But I'm like, all right, I would put it on her, like, hey, set it up. Yeah. And I'll go.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she kind of put it off as well, for whatever her reason, where I actually never asked. But I always be like, yo, set it up. We'll go find a therapist. And then I do remember a couple of times she's like, well, let's go meet these people. And I'm like, I'm busy. I had an excuse. And every, few times I would go, I'm like, I don't like that. Or I ain't like her. Or it's expensive. Or I had all these excuses. You know what I mean? I had insurance too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and, but finally, something had happened, and I was like, you know what? Let's go. Like, let's do it. And still said you set it up, but like I'm ready.
I'm not gonna come with an excuse.
I'm not coming with no excuse, man. Let's do it.
So when you went to therapy on your own, when you took that solo trip to therapy, what were some of the things you looked for when it came to finding an actual therapist?
I wanted a woman of color, and I wanted a woman.
Why was that important to you?
For me, I was like, I wanted a black woman first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because granted, like, who else to know the plight of a black man
than a black woman?
I could have went to a man first, but also was like, it's my first time. Women are very subtle and motherly and sisterly or whatever. That woman's touch. There's nothing like it. And so that was my thing. I sorry, white people, I just didn't want y'all. That's just and I'm not saying you wouldn't have been great. You probably would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But for me, as a black man,
because the big thing with therapy is you have to be able to gain that rapport. You have to be able to know. You have to be able to be comfortable with who you're sitting in front of, because that other person is going to be able to understand why I'm
exactly. There's certain nuances of being black in America that they just understand that y'all just don't.
Exactly.
And I don't have to explain that to them. You know what I mean? I would hate to have had been in a therapy and I'm talking whatever I'm talking about and would have had to give a backstory on the history of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, or if I say a joke and you just don't get it, like you ain't seen Friday, you know what I mean? Like you ain't seen Friday and I don't know.
Exactly.
But that's an easy rapport that we can build.
It's an easy way to knock out a lot of those
initial conversations.
Not initial conversations, but also what happens is a lot of people go to therapy. They just think any therapist is the right therapist, or all therapists are good. All therapists are not good. You may have some trash therapists. I've heard stories of when therapists have fell asleep in sessions. Sometimes a lot of therapists turn the therapy into themselves and they're talking about themselves a lot within therapy, but also the fact that me and the therapist have to have these connections, right? So if you need a woman.
It's funny you said that. I had the second therapist I had, because my first therapist, she moved further. Her office was further away. And I was like, second therapist, she was always late, and I have punctuality is my pet peeve.
Yeah.
I have I try my best not to. I get it, shit happens, but habitually late, can't stand it. But we were sitting on a session and she started talking about her husband that passed, and I'm like, damn, that's shit. But I'm not paying for you to talk about
this ain't about you.
This ain't about you trying to relate. I get it, and your husband just passed, but this ain't. I ain't pay you for that. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to be in therapy like, hey, lady, I'm paying you to talk about me, not about
you're not trying to be the therapist.
I'm sorry that this happened, but yeah, lady, unless you want to pay me, or this could be free.
So what kept you looking for the new one? Because
she wasn't black.
Okay.
And finally, the woman that I actually wanted, took me a while to get her, and I finally got her.
Okay.
I was like, yes. Got her.
Okay.
And so I finally got the first woman I had. She was from Colombia.
Okay.
She was from Colombia. So I was like, all right, close enough. You're a woman of color.
It's all that matters. But the biggest thing in that is, like, people understand, like, you're not going to find the right therapist the first time.
No, not at all.
And then if you're a male trying to seek therapists, sometimes that can be very defeating. If we go to the therapist and, okay, this therapist is shit, and then we like, you know what? That's all therapy. That's all therapy.
Yeah, you kind of group them all together.
It's like medicine, right? In order to find that right medicine, you may have to, try a few.
I get into finding anything. A good restaurant, you got to go to a few Mexican restaurants to find a taco spot you love, or a good trainer. If you go to the gym, a good gym that you like, that just vibes with you.
You got to date a few times.
If you're taking a college, like visiting in several colleges, and that says this is the one for me. Hell, shit, finding a mate.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like you got to talk to a few of them.
Exactly.
I like you the most.
So don't allow that one therapist to sit there and just kind of like fuck you up.
You know what I mean?
Be like, nah. it's all bad therapists, because it's not.
It's some shitty ones, you know.
Oh, it is.
It's, you know, I've been an educator for 10 years as well, and same thing with teachers. Like, you're gonna come across some shitty fucking teachers, man, and sucks. I'm sorry, but you can also go outside of that network and find some education as well. But like, you got to go through several teachers to be like, that's my favorite one. Yeah. That's the one that I like. So the same thing with therapists, man. If you don't like your first one, go to another one. Keep going until you find the one that you connect with, and that's when that work will
but
start.
Even if you feel as if you're not in the right space, mentally, emotionally, or even financially, to go see a therapist, make sure you go actually unpack with someone. Make sure you go unpack with the right person.
Right.
Don't go unpack with the homie up the street, and then he gonna have your business all around the block. Yeah. And now you out here looking like a fool.
Now you're on Instagram, man.
Now you're on Instagram. Now you got everybody from the block talking shit about you. You know, you don't want to do that. You know, and what I find it always, good is just to make sure you have. Man, I've always felt more comfortable releasing and unpacking to a woman, right? Making sure you have that woman right there to kind of really console you, because a lot of men don't understand. It's important that we do get consoled, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
It's the most beautiful thing in the world
to have somebody to receive it and say, "I hear you,
exactly.
I see you, and I understand you." Now, for me, I've been very, you call it what you want, lucky, blessed. I've earned. I'm a good person, but my circle of friends are tremendous. You know, we always, of course, we shoot the shit. There's jokes all around, but when there's something to be talked about, it's always all ears.
Yeah,
and I can honestly say, like, not to my knowledge, to where I've revealed something that has gotten out on some negative shit.
Yeah,
and vice versa. Like, you know what I mean. And so for me, I can go to my boys in the chat or just call one up individually and say, yo, you know what I mean? Nigga, you answered the phone, so you're going to hear this.
Just get this work.
You're going to get this work. And they've always been like, for sure. And vice versa. It's not like they haven't called me and I'm like, you know what I mean? So I've been very, like I said, you can call it what you want, but my circle of friends, which has grown.
Yeah.
I've damn near had the same group of friends since I was, a child. And obviously, as I've traveled, I've added to that circle.
Yeah.
But like I said, my group of friends have been tremendous, man. I can always...
Have you... And this just popped up in my head because everything you're saying is very, very familiar to me. Like, my circle of friends is the same people that I've been with since I was 6. Being that you went to therapist and being that you kind of was probably the first one to really, start the whole therapy route. Do you sometimes catch yourself being the therapist for your homeboys?
No. No, it's like a round table.
Okay.
I don't know everything. And it's funny now. Going into therapy, I almost know how everybody's going to respond. And everything is different. It's kind of hard to explain, but like an incident will happen. Homie will put it in the chat. And everybody's giving their advice or opinion, you know what I mean? And it's like, here's a buffet. Pick which one you want to use this time, you know what I mean? But do I find myself being a therapist more often than not? No.
Okay.
Not more often than not, but yeah, they'll come to me with something, and I'll I studied psychology in school, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not licensed or anything like that.
Because the reason why I asked that is just the one friend that is able to act, the one friend that makes at their point to be vulnerable is normally the one that kind of opens the door up for everyone. And everybody, just in general, not even just men, but women as well. We want to make sure we open up to somebody who we understand our stuff is going to be safe with.
Now, I will say, the women that I've dated since I've been going to therapy, I'm like, yo, have you gone? Have you gone? No? Okay, well, if you trying to do this,
gotta go.
You better dial that up.
What if they're okay? So you just asked that. If they ain't trying to go, that's a no.
Yes, basically. If they're like, "No, I'm not going," then this is not going to work. But if it's like, "No, I haven't go, but I want to," fine, we'll get you there.
Yeah, I can connect you. Things like that.
We'll get you there, sweetie. But if I'm like, "Yo, listen, I go to therapy. I go now for maintenance."
Yeah,
unless something drastic happens. But I go now for maintenance. But yeah, like I meet a young lady, and whatever we are trying to do, we're having our conversations. Therapy is definitely coming up. If you tell me you just not going, okay,
it's something you fighting. It's something you running away from.
That's cool. You don't have to. but this ain't gonna go no further than where we at right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And the funny thing is, it benefits you.
But we don't know it does.
You know what I mean? Therapy.
It's like we're always
I'm not asking you to go to therapy because I'm. You know what I mean? For me, this is for you. Mm-hmm. And whoever you end up with will definitely be a beneficiary of it eventually.
Who are you to tell me that I need help with my shit?
Man,
and that's the issue.
I've had people say like, "Yo, nothing's wrong." I'm like, just go find out. Just go find out. Mm-hmm. Doesn't necessarily have to be something wrong with you. Maybe you develop tools that if something does happen, boom, you're equipped with the tools to handle that right away, and nothing does happen to you. You know what I mean? We talk about health. Preventative care is way more effective than.
And it's way more cheaper, too. In the long run.
It's cheaper to prevent care.
It's cheaper in the long run.
It's cheaper to eat right. And I know we're like, it's expensive. Yes. But there's something called a poor tax. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Eating fast food all the time. Eventually, it's cheaper now. But eventually, that tax at the end is going to get you. That's where it gets expensive. You know what I mean? Dental. You got it, whatever.
All of that stuff.
All of that shit.
All of that stuff.
Cancer and all that shit.
Which is why it's dope for the fact that she's still going down for maintenance work. Because you don't want to backtrack, right? Because we don't want to go therapy. Everything is good. We think we got everything in check. We leave, then boom.
Me doing these videos, like I said, most of these guys, I know.
They're your boys.
And then some of them have been recommended to me, but by my boys. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, this is my dude. So, you know what I mean? That connection is there. And hearing these guys, and like I said, most of the guys, I've heard these stories. I've been around for it. Like, I remember that happened.
Yeah.
But to see them talk about it in this capacity on film is different. There's a different element to it. And it affects me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so I had to go like, I just want to make sure I'm processing this shit right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we've had, the second one we did with Hamza Abdullah, one of my college teammates, man. Mm-hmm. I speak to Hamza. Well, at the time, we're in a group chat. You know what I mean? I got like several group chats that I'm in. I'm talking to this man all the time, and I remember some of the instances that happened. I remember him going off on Twitter about how the NFL was doing the guys, and I remember it was a big thing for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I remember when they stopped playing and took their trip to Mecca, and I remember, his attempted suicide. Mm-hmm. We were actually supposed to film his video before that, and he ended up at Manhattan Beach because he tried to kill himself.
Oh, okay.
And he just disappeared. And his brother hit me. His brother Hussein hit the line like, "Yo, keep Hamza up, whatever. Keep him in your prayers and your thoughts." And I'm like, "Fuck," you know what I mean? So boom, we did this like maybe a week and a half after his attempt.
So this shit was fresh.
It was fresh. And some of the other guys, I got my guy Kenson coming up. I grew up with Kenson. Kenson talked about being a deadbeat dad the first 6 years of his daughter's life. Now I've heard men say, I was a deadbeat dad, but I've never heard a man get into the details and his mindset and where he was at, talk about that. But I remember when it was going on. I remember him going to court battling with his daughter's mom. I remember, I just remember being around for all of that, because we would hang out, play flag football together, I'd come into town, we chill, whatever. I remember all of that. Mm-hmm. Baby mom tripping, I got to go to court, and I ain't seen my daughter, and I remember all of that. But to see him, for one, grow into that, I was a deadbeat dad, and here's why. And he's full custody of his daughter. He's been at. He fought that, got it. Daughter's doing amazing. But to see that him talk about it is different, and it was affecting me. Mm-hmm. Tommy Holmes, he got on and just started crying. I was like, shit, let me step back and compose myself. Yeah. You know what I mean? And he talked about, the day his dad got locked up and the cop came and the car he was playing with, and he just started crying, and he talked about his mother being a drug addict, and I was like, shit. Mm-hmm. So I was taking all this on, so I was like, yo, I got to go call my therapist so make sure.
Yeah, that's that counter transference that we as therapists try to make
sure. So I'm like, yo, it's coming to me, but I'm holding on to all this because these are my friends. I'm like, shit. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to get a good, I just wanted you to participate in what I'm doing. Yeah. But shit, I'm taking all of this on. You know what I mean? Isaac talked about his brother being bipolar and autistic, and how people would see his older brother, and be clowning. And then Isaac would be like, oh, shit, man, that's big bros, though. You know what I mean? And I can see how it hit him, like, how he remembers that incident. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, dude. So I was like, let me go to therapy a few times. Became a therapist because as I'm hearing these stories, I'm being affected by them. And I just want to make sure that I process it correctly as I continue on filming other people, and I'm making sure that I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not,
because like, you don't want to take in the other people's stuff. But another dope thing about all of that is we don't understand. One of the things that was kind of unintended, is the effect that it has on other people. Right, we understand the effect that it's going to have on us, how it may cause us to get vulnerable and stuff like that. But that, even within itself, is going to cause the other person to open up. Even when it's like with people, NFL guys, athletic guys, right? Because we think, oh, you're in the NFL, everything's good. You got money, you probably always wanted to be a football player. You're living your dreams, everything's straight. But you don't understand everything else that's on the back end. Man,
listen, the stories that I've been involved with, that I've heard. That I've lived with. I didn't play professionally, but some of my closest friends, some of my best friends have played successful careers, and I've been around for the function parts. I've been around for the bad shit.
Yeah.
And man, the stuff that goes on in the NFL that you guys have your average fan has no idea about, man. They and I love the league. I love football. Football gave me a lot, taught me a lot.
That's your outlet.
But god damn, man, the way they treat some players, not some, most players that aren't named, Aaron Donald, or that aren't named Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. The shit that they go through, the shit that they've.
So let me ask you this question: when it comes to mental health and when it comes to athletes,
that was gonna be my next point, right? So boom, there's no crying in fucking sports.
Yeah,
there's no way in hell I can go to my coach with. I remember one time in college, man, my landlord hit my line like, you niggas owe us $3,000.
Your landlord?
Yeah, like, bro, we had a house. Like, I just paid this, what I mean?
Yeah.
Night before the game, we in meetings and shit. I'm getting calls. He blowing us up. He blew me up. Like, oh, you owe me $3,000. I don't owe you shit. And I'm panicking like, oh, we finna, you finna evict you out the crib.
Before the game?
This is night before the game. We in team meetings. I'm like, away game too.
Okay.
I'm like, coach, I got an issue. That nigga was like, yo, we'll deal with that after this game. But like, that's a small sample, but it's like, no, there's other things outside of football that affect.
Yep.
And if you want me to be at my best, tell me something else. Like, help me out with this. Just real quick. I'm not telling you to give me $3,000. But like, I'm coming to you with a quick issue with something.
Yeah.
Like, help me out. Like, you know what I mean? Or you get hurt. Yeah, you cry for the physical pain, of course, or maybe you don't. But like, what that does to you psychologically when you can't play, like you break something, that fucks your mind.
Especially if football is what you've been doing your whole life.
And all they want to know is like, yo, how's rehab going? Nigga, rehab is fucking cool, but bro, I'm not playing, dog. Yeah. Like I'm hurt. Like it hurts me to not be playing. You know what I mean? Like it hurts me to not be getting better. It hurts me because I'm not out there with my partners fucking around in practice. Like, are you gonna ask me how I'm doing? Mom's is sick. Lights is off. Nigga, we broke. Man, I'm hungry.
Shoot,
now they got meal plans now. Unlimited meals, nigga. We had 10 meals a day, bro. You want me to gain weight, my nigga? I came into college.
I was just about to bring that up, man. My brother used to tell me so many stories about how they don't eat,
bro. I came into college at 149 pounds, nigga. I played corner, bro. Like you want me to gain weight, and I only got 10 meals a fucking week. You want me to eat protein?
And you don't have no time,
dog.
You don't have no time for none of that.
My teammate is 6'9", 3-something. He only had. What do you mean you want him to get like? How was he supposed to do that with 10 fucking meals a day? What do you want us to do? Now, like I said, now there's unlimited meals. Now they have it. But when I was, nigga, 10, you just type in and buy. What the fuck am I buying between, like?
But also, the full-time work that it takes to be a collegiate athlete.
Yeah, man.
It's a full-time job. You got to, what y'all waking up at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning?
That shit, you got 5 a.m. workouts. There's like tiers. So, like, get the 5, 6, 7 group. You might get you a protein shake afterwards. You might get some muscle milk or something. Class at 8, 9, maybe. However many classes you got. But you got meetings, let's say 2. Meetings, you got your special teams meeting, individual meeting. You might have a team meeting, practice, a couple hours, boom. Another meeting after that. Study hall. Shit, you're looking at 10. Still got schoolwork to do, too.
Exactly.
I still got to study.
Yeah.
I got to study game film.
and class.
Because I gotta be. Yeah, you look at film in your meetings, but if you want to be great, I gotta do more studying.
Exactly.
After the meetings, just like if you want to do well in school, yeah, I do my work in class and I study in class, but after is when I need to do even more research, and because I'm not understanding this concept, I got to spend more time on it. So finding time to balance both is
difficult.
It's time consuming. It's difficult for some because there's a lot of athletes that don't go to college to play school.
Yeah.
I'm only here because of my athletic prowess. You know what I mean? There are guys with great grades, but SC ain't calling them to come to their school.
No.
But I can run real fast so I can catch a ball. That's
when, you know.
That's why I'm here.
But that opens up the whole other door to another conversation with it. Slave mentality, all this extra stuff. That's another conversation on another day.
But all of that as an athlete plays to your psyche.
Exactly.
And then you can't come to your coaches and you can go, and they have counselors and shit for you, but like I couldn't even tell you who the counselor was in my college.
But essentially growing up, because I started playing football when I was 6. So, you know, initially growing up, and then I remember some of the first people that I cried in front of was my teammates and was my coach, because we're losing games and stuff like that. So essentially, I look at my coach as someone I can confine stuff into. But once I get to that point of my coach ain't even trying to hear this, it's like, yo, okay, who do I run to now?
They're not trying to hear that, man.
Nah.
It's because they got to, and a great coach, an amazing coach will hear you, or at least direct you to somewhere, you know, that you can get help or get heard.
Yeah.
And most coaches aren't great coaches like that. You know what I mean? They're just average coaches.
They're just kind of there.
They're just there.
There for the job, and you got a job.
Most coaches aren't great like that. They instill great qualities and skills in you, but you also need to be heard on an emotional and a mental level. You know what I mean? If you want me to be at my best, then you need to make sure my whole temple is right.
Holistically.
You know what I mean? It's not just my physical, or do I know the play? Yeah, I know the fucking play. We ran it 10 times in a row. But once I leave this, and the theme on the videos, you'll hear a lot of those guys say after the game was over, who the hell am I? I suffer from depression because I've been my name is whatever. I've been a football player since I was, 7, and football is done at 29, 30. I got a whole nother 60 goddamn years of life. Who am I?
We never speak about those players. We never speak about the players who, when they get hurt, the first week in practice, straight after the draft, and now it's over. Yeah. We never speak about those players who's going to be on the scrimmage team, the whole practice squad, the whole time.
And that messes up the psyche.
It does.
And so any of you coaches and future coaches, take the time to listen to your athletes outside of the game. Listen to them, because there's more to the game than just the game itself. Yeah. Herschel Dennis is another guy that SC guy. He went to Long Beach Poly, which is a perennial power year in, year out. And he started an initiative called More Than an Athlete, I believe that's what it's called. And he works with I think every Tuesday, I think he said, that he goes to Long Beach Poly and he talks to the kids about just being more than an athlete. Don't let this define who the hell you are. Use this. Definitely. Use everything and get everything you can out of that. But you are more than just that.
Yeah.
And so it's funny. I gotta go highlight. You did invite me down to go highlight the athletes, and I haven't done that. So HD, I'll get down there one of these times, my man. I'm sorry.
You will, man.
But for you future coaches and you coaches now, you want your athletes to be really great. Like you wanted to perform at their highest caliber, man, listen to them. Or if you can't, because, I get it. In college, there's 85 guys on scholarship, another 20 to 30 walk-ons or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
It's a lot of kids for football, you know what I mean? Basketball, same thing. Excuse me. So if you can't necessarily listen to all your athletes,
point them in the right direction. Don't just dismiss them.
Like, let the counselors be somewhere where they can walk by that office every day. You know what I mean? If you want your athletes to truly be great, mentally, emotionally, once they're right, everything else is so much easier. Your practices are easier, games are easier, it flows. It's fun.
But we, even on the coaches level, we don't understand the importance of that. They don't understand the importance of it, how everything has to just be aligned, no matter how physically fit, no matter if you're throwing the ball 100 yards, no matter if you run a 4-1 or a 4-0, no matter what it is, we don't understand. All of that stuff will stop.
Yeah. Eventually it'll be detrimental to him. Exactly. Like what's his name? Lawrence Phillips. He was a running back. He's from Covina, West Covina, running back from Nebraska in the 90s. hell of a back. He could have had a hell of an NFL career. But because he was such a physical specimen, he was an amazing footballer. He ended up committing suicide in jail, actually.
Oh, shit.
Went to prison for... I can't remember the specifics of it, but, I remember in college, like, reading about him. He had, some domestic battery charges, but he never really got in trouble because he was a star guy.
Exactly.
But nobody sat back and said, like, you should get help. Let's direct you to this path. And it was like, nah, like, take this ball, nigga, and run some more. And it's like he could have been that and much more had y'all taken a step back, got him right.
That goes back into you saying, who am I after the game? Who will I be after the game? Right? I commend those individuals who are able to create something for themselves after retirement, once they realize football or basketball ain't it. I commend those individuals who are able to do that, but that's a very small percentage compared to a lot of those individuals. I have so many homies that got full ride scholarships to a lot of dope schools. Either something may not go there, something may not go well there, they may get hurt, they may not be able to go back to the league. Once it's over, they're back on the block.
Yeah,
back on the block selling drugs, back on the block doing whatever. And then now we have the community looking at that individual as if like, yo, you could have been this. What happened?
Yo, that what happened question was a killer.
Yeah. Because
I went to camps. I had tryouts and I would come home and it's like, B, what happened?
We don't even want to touch that.
Fuck you mean what happened? Now I got attitude.
Yeah.
That nigga, they cut me.
I got an attitude at you for asking me, but I also got an attitude with myself.
Because I didn't make it. Because now I'm questioning, like, damn, was the skills not right? And it could be it. Just wrong place, wrong time. It could be a multitude of things. But I didn't have the tools and the wherewithal to be like, just to have the tools to cope with that.
Man. So it's
the athlete game, man. Like I said, and the reason why I started with athletes because I know what that's like, I know what they go through.
But that's even more so. That's really, really dope that you start there with athletes. Not even more so just because those are your boys, but even still, that's kind of the premise of where it is now. Because we speak about mental health and all these other things and other people, but we don't understand the mental side of being an athlete. Right. We just think just because you're strong, you made it to the league, you got money, you good. But we don't understand the identity issues behind being an athlete. We don't understand the stuff outside of the field.
Underdeveloped as a person.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes are underdeveloped as a person, as a human being outside of athletics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's funny because somebody like Marshawn Lynch, people think is actually like, you would think Marshawn Lynch, how he talked would be unintelligent.
Yeah.
That nigga's smart as shit.
Savvy.
And people they look at him and he's, golden front, dread up. He had to get hyphy, like, you know what I mean? But he's one of a few that are developed as a person.
Exactly.
But most athletes are underdeveloped as a human being, and I mean emotionally, mentally, knowing who they are outside of that. Because we can get into the politics of poor.
But that's what makes
a way out.
But that's what makes Marshawn Lynch so dope.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to be himself
at all,
on no type of level,
and still smart as well.
Exactly, he understands that.
Still business savvy.
But the athletes outside of that, like you said, Marshawn Lynch is one out of
he's an outlier,
hundreds out of thousands. Years to come, not even just now, but in the future, it's going to be a bunch of athletes who don't know themselves.
And I know the NFL has this, post-career initiative. I forgot what it's called. I've had friends that have, I've had a few friends that have gone to it.
Yeah.
Have written about it. My boy Spencer Pasinger played a number of years. He found his footing in writing TV, and he has a successful show on CW now. And I remember him writing about him going to that initiative. Excuse me, I believe it was in Florida. About helping athletes, pro guys find themselves outside of the game. It's small now, I believe, but hopefully it grows, and hopefully more initiatives come from that. Hopefully you guys, athletes and non-athletes, man, like you start in one spot, you could be a warehouse worker, man, but you're more than just boxing.
You're more than just that. You're more than just that.
Hopefully there's an initiative for you as well that you go to.
Yeah.
Because there are things around there, but if you're not going to it, my man, or young lady, then you're just going to be, call center or whatever. And if you like that.
If you like it, good. But
please.
if you know for a fact that's not where you're supposed to be and you're just settling for that, maybe that's something that needs to be handled within therapy. Maybe that's something we need to actually take a look in the mirror and just look at.
Right. You harped on something. I wanted to bring it back about therapy being financially unattainable. And with Can I Be Vulnerable, we want, if we can, and this is more of a political thing as well, because of insurance pays for it, but you know how insurance goes. Everybody's uninsured and all that.
And every therapist doesn't accept insurance.
And that's another thing. So one of our goals and our hopes that we want to see happen is making it more feasible for people that can't afford it. We will be, I'm gonna call it fundraising to sponsor guys to get therapy, pay for the therapy and whatnot. But hopefully we come with an initiative that makes it just feasible for everybody to go, make it affordable. I know there are some places that do a sliding scale based on how much you make, based on how much you'll pay. And that's normally at the colleges where you can go to where they're learning, but finding the resources to where it's not breaking your pockets and not, I'm not one of those dudes that's like, well, if you can go buy a pair of shoes, you can go fuck out of here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if them shoes make you happy, goddamn it, go buy them, motherfuckers. Yep. You know what I mean? But in order, we would hope to partner up with a bunch of, therapists and psychologists and facilities and being able to say and build a relationship and a network to where we make it attainable for mostly everybody, but, people to go to where it's like, man, that's just expensive. And I know it's expensive. You know what I mean? It was expensive but I have insurance and my insurance paid for.
The thing is, though, nothing's really truly expensive. It's just a matter of, is it a priority?
Is it a priority? It's true, too.
Is it a priority? Because when you got $800 shoes on and
a lot of times your job has...
Yes. Yeah.
Look through your job. Exactly. Your job has... And not even using insurance. Your job has where you can go see a therapist for a couple times,
certain sessions or whatever.
So they pay for a certain amount of sessions. Go use it, take advantage of it. Even if it's not a therapist, like a counseling session. Like you can go, sit in a circle. Look at them job benefits.
It's all there.
Or ask. It's all there. A lot of jobs have it, and they don't advertise it. They don't talk about it. It's just like if you find out your job gives you a discount on your cell phone bill. You know what I mean? It's in that fine print somewhere. But like I said, with Can I Be Vulnerable, we want to be able to have those resources laid out. So where you just click on it like, yo, where can I find a therapist? And it's already laid out for you that this is what it could cost or whatever. You can go here and you'll pay that. You know what I mean? So that's one of our huge goals that we want to see happen in the future.
Man, and it absolutely will, matter of fact, happen, man. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Shoot, man, I appreciate everything. Not only you being here, not only you disclosing some of the things that you've went through, not only you disclosing your experiences in therapy, but also just you. Also, you just, doing this Can I Be Vulnerable thing. Because initially you said, I did mine. I don't really, But, you continued on with it even when you didn't want to, man. So more for bigger than anything else. Everything that is granted and wanted and will come to it.
Thanks to everybody that participated in it. It wouldn't be known without y'all. Thank all my guys for sharing it, for sharing their stories.
So plug the Instagram and the YouTube.
So it's Can I Be Vulnerable? Just spell it out. Can I Be Vulnerable? YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We are just starting off. When did we start this? November. The genius behind all of that is next to me. She
thank you, Bree.
So I appreciate you, Bree. Couldn't do it without you. So literally it's just Can I Be Vulnerable? Hashtag Can I Be Vulnerable, hashtag Therapy Thursdays. And really, it's only because I was going to therapy on Thursdays. But we wanted to be like a TBT. You think of Throwback Thursdays, cool. We wanted to register just like that. Throwback Thursdays, take it back. Women Crush Wednesdays or whatever. Therapy Thursdays. It registers with you. Boom.
Real quick.
Just to check in on your mental. You just know it's Therapy Thursday.
At least have that day or that time to actually check in with yourself.
So you throw your little throwback up, and then you Therapy Thursdays yourself. Like, damn, I was just shit in that picture.
I ain't no more.
All right. So hopefully that gets you, just check in with yourself, with your mental. So the hashtags, the page, please check it out. It's just a bunch of stuff.
All of it, man. Thank you. So moving forward, the last part, as always, I like to end everyone with a question. I do not write these questions out. I always get the questions from the energy and the vibe that I feel from the actual session, right? So the question that I have for everyone else, and this is something that popped up, I guess continued to pop up in my head was, what do you owe yourself? Right? A lot of us should ask ourselves, what do we owe ourselves? Right? Because we're quick to say, hey, I owe the next person this, or I need to make sure I, make an amends to this person. I need to make sure I fix this crack and all this other stuff. But we never really check in with ourselves and ask ourselves, like, hey, you've been putting in all the work for everyone else. When is the next time you're going to do something for yourself?
Man, that's funny you said that. It's like, yeah, what do you owe yourself? But can I add, like, are you really treating yourself the best you can treat yourself?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Yeah, what do I owe? I owe myself a bunch of shit, but am I giving myself the best opportunity to myself?
Am I allowing myself?
Am I allowing myself? Am I giving myself the best opportunity? Am I allowing myself to be my best self?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us aren't. A lot of us are not allowing ourselves. We're not owing ourselves. And we're not allowing ourselves to give ourselves the best shit that we got.
And just to answer that question, I can say for me, nah. I actually just got to a point to where I've been able to be comfortable with my own personal insecurities. I've just gotten to a point to where I've allowed myself to feel certain things because I used to block everything out.
Right.
I'm an individual who've been through a lot of shit. I have 2 master's degrees. I went home to all this other stuff, and I've made it here. I think I know it all. I think I don't need your answers. I got this. I got this. So whenever people's coming to me with kind of advices and stuff like that, I know. Don't worry about it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. I wasn't trying to hear it. I was blocking it off. But then, once you hit that wall and you realize, like, yo, I don't know it all.
Right.
Let me sit back and, I guess, allow myself. And the other thing with that is just like, for me, all of that stuff I put out in front of me was a veil, was a makeup to cover up all of the other shit that was in behind. So yes, what do you owe yourself? And then,
are you giving yourself the best opportunity for you to have the best shit?
The best shit, to grow, to do whatever, to
Ladies,
be the best,
you got your
man.
best makeup, you put your face on, you get it beat, but like, yo, put that shit internally too, man. Are you allowing yourself to be given the best shit that you deserve? That and not from like, oh, can I get it from you? No. From yourself.
And how can you give it to yourself?
I'm just getting to that. I've slowly been working on that. You said celebrating your wins. I never celebrated my wins. And it's hard for me to let other people celebrate my wins too. Like, I don't take compliments well.
Yo, I be
weird.
Mad.
It's weird. And I've grown up in the house. Like, my dad used to be like, I would do shit like, to me, it's normal. You know what I mean? My dad would be like, yo, B, that was dope. What's next? And it was always, what's next for me? And it wasn't like he didn't tell me good job or that was great. I'm happy. My father always gave me affirmation, but he was always like, all right, so now what?
It's always somewhere else to go. Like,
so
that's cool, but what are you finna take care of after that?
So for me, I was always like, well, shit, I did that. Now what? I was an All-American in track. Like, that's fucking huge.
It is.
All right, nigga, now what? For me, it was like, well, shit, I got to go do something else now. You know what I mean?
There's always something else we can, in other people's eyes, and we can reach.
And then in my relationships, I've taken opportunities for my girlfriends to celebrate me as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I didn't realize how that affected them, B, the relationship. It's like they want to celebrate you, man. You did something well and they're happy for you. Like, let them celebrate you, not to be like, nah, I'm cool. Or I'd like pay for something and she wanted to, like, and the ex-girlfriend was like, B, shut the fuck up and let me celebrate you, please. It makes me happy.
Man.
And I was like, huh.
I bring this shit up all the time. All the time. My birthday, my girlfriend got me probably the biggest and the best gift I've ever received for a birthday period. I was mad. Pissed.
I ruined one birthday, man.
Why are you giving me this?
I was like, man.
Even when she knows when I needed it, even when she knows I deserved it, even when she knows all of these things, I'm still like, nah. Don't do that.
Let them do it, fellas. Let them celebrate you, man, and celebrate them as well. You celebrate your own wins. I'm working on that myself. It's hard. I'm not gonna front. It's difficult because I'm like, yeah, I did it. That's cool. I was supposed to do that, or
we're supposed to do it. We feel like we're supposed to be good, so we're not. I don't need to celebrate anything I know I'm supposed to be doing.
Fuck that. Celebrate that shit. I'm working on it now. Allow other people to celebrate you, man, and ladies too as well. But yeah. Give yourself the best chance and owe it to yourself.
Hey, we have to, man. But as always, man, for everyone tuning in, good looking. Keith, thank you for tuning in. Tanisha, thank you for tuning in. Josh, man, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate everything that you're doing with My Lady Social Workers, man. Didier, Bree, live, love the content coming from New York. Hey, I appreciate you, sweetheart. Thank you. As always, man, ain't no wealth without your mental health, man. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.